Hi everyone, my name's David Zabo from Warburton Fly Fishing. Some people call me the Mindful Fly Fisherman. And today we're going to be serving up a beautiful wild brown trout that I caught locally. I love to fish local and I love to also cook with my own produce from the garden and seasonal produce that I source locally. So we're going to cook this up for you today. And it's something that I love serving to my family, and I get asked invariably when I present to corporate groups or groups of blokes wanting to explore mindfulness, Dave, how do you cook a trout? So I'm going to give you one recipe today on wild brown trout. So before we get started, we're going to go to our garden and pick some herbs and a few zucchinis. So I've got a beautiful oregano plant here in my front herb garden. And it wilts during the winter time. However, in spring and summer, you have just a budding plant. It's absolutely beautiful. So what we're going to do is just take a few stems here, and that's going to go in our dish. We're also going to take a little bit of parsley and some dill. Now, go easy on dill, because if you have lots and lots of dill, your whole garden will become dill. So just something to be aware of. So we're also going to take some parsley here, which is absolutely gorgeous. And the great thing about parsley, you can also use that in juicing. I NutriBullet parsley with grapefruit and cucumber, and it's very, very versatile. So I'll take a little bit more of this. Now for some zucchini. Well, we have a beautiful zucchini plant. It's been knocked around a little bit lately because we've had so much heat here in Melbourne. However, we have some beautiful zucchinis if you maintain hay or straw around the plant. That keeps the moisture in, and that's a lot easier for the plant. So it's very easy to leave zucchinis too long and then you end up with an elephant of a thing. All is not lost there. What you can actually do is halve that, core it, put some olive oil on it and roast it until it's flat, and then put some Moroccan rice in there and top it with Parmesan cheese, and you've got a beautiful dish and guaranteed to be a crowd pleaser. However, right now I want to get a few little zucchinis. So we have a couple of little babies here, and that's one of them, and I love that. We're also going to take a flower off this one that's already growing, and that's a nice little garnish, and just a little bit of a colour thing. Also antioxidants, because there's colours in that, so you want as many colours on your plate as possible. And just moving across here, we're also going to grab another zucchini. Oh, look at that, beautiful. And what I've done, I've sourced seedlings. These seedlings were sourced from seeds that were heirloom seeds. So beautiful, pure, hasn't been adulterated, and I just think it makes for a beautiful, beautiful eating experience. The great thing about zucchinis is they're very, very prevalent in summer, and if you're on keto or wanting to have a low carb emphasis in your eating, it's a cheap way to live, and it's highly, highly nutritious. Okay, so what we're going to do, we've got our beautiful, beautiful dill. Now, the funny thing is about dill, there's a lot of people have fear of overpowering their dishes with dill. It takes a lot of dill to overpower your dish. So go hard on it. And also, if it's abundant, you're getting all those micronutrients into your diet. And you can also throw that in scrambled eggs, all kinds of things. It's absolutely fantastic. In fact, in Sweden, dill grows so prevalent, people use it in everything. That's because it's local and it's prevalent. So use whatever you have, because as many micronutrients as possible is a great way to go for your health. So then what we're going to do, we're going to take our oregano and we're going to strip those just like yay. Beautiful. A few of those. Oh, that's gorgeous. My goodness. I love fresh herbs. It's just, and you know, if you can, even you may live in the city somewhere in an apartment, if you've got a little bit of space on a balcony or something like that, you can actually grow in a pot herbs, and you'll save lots of money in a year, and it is a great thing for your health. That's in the bin there. So that's those. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to chop up the parsley, which I also got from the garden, and that is absolutely beautiful. Nice and fine. I prefer flat leaf parsley. I just think it's much nicer to work with. I'm not into that Philly stuff, but if that's your parsley, all power to you. It's still parsley, and I think parsley is full of goodies. It's full of vitamin K, full of vitamin C, So there are our herbs. Now, onto the fish. We're going to have a look at that. Okay, we have a beautiful, beautiful wild brown trout. Now, I froze this as soon as I caught it because I was going to go away on business. So I thought I just wanted to be, wanted to preserve as much of its freshness as possible. So this is a wild brown trout. I've caught it locally here in Warburton, and I practice catch and release almost exclusively. However, I will say that keeping the odd fish is a good thing because it gives you a lot of respect for wild creatures, and I think it doesn't all come from the supermarket, and especially with children, it's good for them to see where their food comes from. So what I'm going to do is actually scale this first, and I've got a bin here, and then I'm going to gut it, and I'm going to remove the bloodline inside, and I'll show you where that is. That's what we're doing. Got to do both sides. Often I'll do this at the riverbank. Also, there is an argument that it's actually better to freeze it all whole if you're going to freeze it, because you're preserving a lot more of the goodness of the fish and maintaining the integrity of the tastes. We make an incision here. We just bring it up like that. Whoop. Yep. And we gut it there. Beautiful wild trout. And that all goes out. And what we do is we remove that bloodline, as so. You want to do that because that can actually taint the taste. So there's two ways. One's to cut right in there, down like that, and then peel that away, separate that with a knife. The other is to get a toothbrush, and you can actually go up and down on that. So I'm just going to wash this, wash that out. There, my friends, is a beautiful wild trout ready to go. So we're now going to season this trout and we're going to fry it. Now the thing about trout, it is a very, very delicate fleshed creature, and because of that you need to give it a bit of love. So there's a few ways to do it: bake it whole or fry it, sear it, crispy skin it first and then finish it in the oven, and I think we'll be doing it for the purposes of this exercise. So now we're going to prepare the fish. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to season it with a little bit of, I'll just move this over here, with a little bit of Celtic salt mixed with Himalayan rock salt. So I'm just both sides. Yeah, so rub it in. Now the thing with the trout, it's very, very bland and you need a bit of salt to season it. Just do it both sides, like yay. A little bit on the inside. Yep. And then what I'm going to do is get some white pepper. You know, some white pepper. Beautiful. Both sides. And just for that. Yep. So one side's wet, that's the side I handle the fish with, and the other side's dry, and that's what I handle the salt with. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to get a little bit of my uncle's olive oil from Cape Shank here in Victoria, in Australia, and I've actually infused that with lemon rind and dill. So that's beautiful. So everyone knows someone who's got a lemon tree. Worldwide, fruit trees are disappearing from backyards and house blocks, and the reason is for urban development. So I say, if you know enough places where you can get oranges or you can get lemons or zucchinis, I call it power foraging, and the more the merrier as far as I'm concerned, and you get food in its freshest form, picked locally and sustainably and also quickly, so you're preserving the nutrients. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of that to this fry pan, and we're going to heat it up. And what we're going to do is we are going to just crispy skin that, and then we're going to put it into a baking tray and we're going to finish it. Remember what I said, trout is very, very delicate. If you leave that on the fry pan for too long, you're going to lose a lot of it. Okay, what I've done, I've just thrown a tiny bit of water into the oil. That's ready to go. When it starts sizzling, we're ready to go. So what I'm going to do is just gently cook the outside of the trout, just to give it a bit of crispiness. So we place that in. Look at that. So that's going to start cooking immediately. So what I like to do is just make sure, just separate it early on. Yep, as I said, trout is a very, very delicate flesh, and we want to preserve that. So not too long. So just a little bit, then we'll turn it over. Aren't you beautiful? A little bit more salt. Yeah. And a bit more pepper. Oh, yeah. Lovely. Trout are a cold water loving fish. So typically you find them in the south of the southern hemisphere and also in the northern hemisphere. Typically North America in the cooler states. Also throughout Europe. And the funny thing is with fly fishing, 5,000 years ago fly fishing was practiced in China, and the Romans discovered fly fishing in their travels to Macedonia, where they were catching trout, which they called spotted fish, they were catching them on brass and steel hooks. We've crisped the skin of the trout, and we've lost a little bit of the tail, unfortunately. As I said, it's super delicate, the trout. So we're going to put that in the oven at 165 degrees fan forced or 180 convection, and that's for about 10-15 minutes, and you can check that it's cooked by using a fork and putting it into the flesh, and it should be nice and soft. So that's the secret to trout. It just needs a bit of love. Here we go. Voila, onto the sauce. So we're going to make the sauce right now. So to start with the sauce, I'm going to add some of my lemon rind and dill infused sauce. Now that's just because it's around the place, so I just throw that in. Remember, power foraging, if you've got enough stuff, you can create magic. So that's that. I'm going to throw in a little bit of butter. Yep. And the oil prevents the butter from burning. I should turn that on, shouldn't I? I'm going to mix that around and bring that up to heat. What I'm actually going to do, I've got some red onions, which I've finely diced. So they're going to go in. Yep. I just love the look of red onions. You could use white onions as well. And just a side note, if you're wanting to use garlic, introduce the garlic after the onions have cooked. So you want the onions almost just crystal, like they're looking a bit glassy. So we're going to fry this. Okay, so we're just frying this off a bit. Oh, I can smell the dill and I can smell the lemon. It's certainly not overpowering, it just adds another dimension to the taste. Now here, if you want, you can actually introduce a little bit of cracked white pepper. Had some beautiful friends bring this back from Indonesia, from Sarawak province, where a lot of the white pepper in the world is grown. It's got a lovely earthy flavour when you do it from the peppercorns, and it really honours the taste of the trout. Oh, I can smell those flavours coming through now. Oh, the smell of the white pepper is just beautiful. And the dill and the lemon, oh, wonderful. So I'm going to throw some mushrooms in right now. It's about 300 grams. They'll take a little while to cook off. That's why you need a little bit of oil and butter. It just helps mingle through. If you don't have enough oil, it's just going to burn. So we're going to cook that. At this, just add a bit of salt. Again, Himalayan mixed with Celtic salt. I just love the minerals from these salts. Yep. Maybe a bit more pepper. Beautiful. Oh, look at that. We're going to cook that through, and then we're going to add some cream and some sour cream. Now the reason why I add sour cream, I just think it adds a lovely thickness to it, but you can go overboard on sour cream as well. It just adds a beautiful thickness to it and a lovely, lovely flavour. Just a little bit different to just cream. So we're going to keep mixing that through, not letting it burn. I might even add a bit of oil to it. Lovely. Have a bit of wine. Oh, that's good. It's a hard life. Okay. Oh, that's better. See what I've done with the oil? It's lubricated everything. It gets in there. Oh, it's smelling amazing now. Actually, I love it sometimes when you're cooking things and the oils start vaporizing and you get a flambe effect with it flames. That's a lot of fun. Just make sure you got the smoke alarm if that happens. So in a minute we're going to keep cooking this through, and then we're going to deglaze the pan with some champagne. It's time to deglaze the pan. A little bit of our champus, or bubbly I should say. Not too much. What that will do is remove any burnt residues. Oh, look at that. And it just really cleans the bottom of the pan. I also think a little bit of the white wine flavour that component of it. Remember, a bubbly is a sparkling wine. So, oh, that's beautiful. I can smell that. Oh my gosh, I can smell that coming through now. At this point, we're going to add some cream, and then we'll add our. Going to add some cream. Yep. Then we're going to add some sour cream. Make sure it's full fat. The fats are good for you, but also you just get a lovely texture. Everything comes together. Oh wow! Look at that. I can smell the wine. I can smell the beautiful. I also think with a little bit of the wine, the acidity cuts through a little bit of that fat, and you're wanting to balance flavors. A bit of a fine dining theme, you know, fire and wind and all the rest of the other things. But I think acid balancing out fat is a really good thing. Let that mull through. A bit more salt, and at this point we'll introduce our herbs. So you got some lovely dill. Look at that. Oh my gosh, got the dill, and that just gives a lovely look to it, as well as micronutrients. That's what we were talking about, as well as local. That's come from my garden. Some beautiful oregano, and you can be as liberal as you want with it. A little bit of parsley. Now at this point, you could actually introduce Dijon mustard. Now the only reason why I'm not introducing Dijon mustard is my daughter's going to be eating this. She's the camera woman, and she hates Dijon mustard. So a lot of teenagers don't actually like mustard, which is really sad for me because I love using it in my dishes. But I can't complain. She's my camera person, which is awesome. So we're going to cook that now, and we're just going to let those flavors work through. Now if you want to thicken it up at this point, you just add a little bit more sour cream, and you could even add a bit more butter if you wanted to, salted butter preferably. It's really important at this point, just taste test it. I'm sure we've all had meals where it looks amazing, where we've gone out and then all of a sudden someone clearly hasn't taste tested it. You know, I almost feel insulted, like it's an insult to my taste buds. Like, all it takes is just tasting it and adding a little bit more salt or pepper as required. And that is beautiful. Once it's at the boil, just back off the heat till it's just bubbling. That's called simmering. And over time what will happen is the moisture will actually evaporate and the sauce will thicken up. That's called reduction. That's how to reduce a sauce. While that's happening, we're going to move on to the carrots and the zucchinis. Okay everyone, what we're going to do, we're going to blanch some beautiful Dutch onions. Carrots. So we've got these beautiful carrots. I've lopped the tops off. I gave them a wash. Now you don't know where they've been or whatever in the production process, but these are beautiful. I tasted them. They're sweet, they're seasonal, they're amazing. So guess what? We've got boiling water there. Ka-dong! Right in there. Leave it for half a minute or a minute. You want that heat to get through because nothing's worse than a crunchy, over crunchy carrot. So we just want to soften it up a little bit. Then what we're going to do is drain it, and then we'll put some cold water on it again, and we'll stop it from cooking again just before we serve up the trout. So everything will come together all at once. This is the fly that I used to catch that trout, or a similar fly. That's called the Cinderella tadpole. That's one of my creations. Beautiful marabou feathers. Looks like this going through the water. Ooh. And it's really lovely, and I've put a little bit of holographic 3D sort of material in the body, and that just sparkles even when it's near dark. And I've put a little tungsten bead to get the weight down, so it goes like this when I'm pulling it, and it looks like a wounded tadpole. It's a Cinderella tadpole because of the tinsel, and I sort of came up with that name. I'm sure someone's tied a similar thing, but that really works up here in Warburton, and I catch a lot of my fish, especially in summer when it's a little bit tough. And this sort of fish fly pattern really annoys them, hitting their territorial instinct. And that's beautiful. So what I love about catching and cooking is I went out with the intention. I tied the fly myself, I caught the fish myself, and almost attracted it to myself through this beautiful pattern. And now we're going to manifest this beautiful dish for you. So if you want to see me tie this, just give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll actually film how to tie the Cinderella tadpole, a highly effective trout pattern. Now to the zucchini. I love this, because it's from heirloom seed, and I really love that. And I actually do find with the heirloom stuff, it tends to last longer. It's just beautiful, everything about it. It's unadulterated, the DNA is pure. Make the most of it. Zucchini slice, you can put it even in chocolate cake. People make zucchini and zucchini chocolate cake where you actually hide it. It's good for kids. who are very, very fussy. So we're going to cut this. Oh, look at that. Oh my gosh. So just about 3 mil thick. You don't want it too thin. Yep. So see my finger here? Just use that as your guide. Nice sharp knife. And a nice sharp knife, you should be able to pull it through. And the stuff you grow on your own doesn't actually have that zucchini taste. The stuff you grow, it's sweet, it's beautiful. It's just got this very neutral taste, but it's cleansing, it's lovely. And look at that green, there's antioxidants in that green skin, and that's what we're aiming for. So we're now gonna heat up a pan with some oil, and we're gonna cook the zucchini. Boiling off these beautiful Dutch carrots, just for a minute or two. Now what I'm gonna do is actually drain the water. Then we're going to introduce some cold water, and that'll stop from continuing to cook. And we'll just now, oh, that's beautiful. Look at that. Dutch carrots. This is our plate, and to me, this is my canvas. So I envisaged it, I tied the fly, I went out and I caught the fish with intention for today. So I attracted it to myself, and guess what? I love it because that's already on the plate. So this is our canvas. So I'm going to keep this here because we're going to start moving really, really quickly. That's actually warm. We're going to heat that up shortly. We've got the trout in the oven. I'm now going to do the zucchinis. So for that, a little bit of Uncle Alex's olive oil. There we go. Look at that. Not too much, not too little. So I'm going to spread that through, heat it up. And all I'm using again is Celtic salt mixed with Himalayan salt. Now you could just use Celtic salt or Himalayan salt, that's what it looks like. I just like the thought of it. And lots of minerals in there. In fact, something you can do with Celtic salt is every time you drink water, put it on your tongue or underneath your tongue, just a pinch. And it gets absorbed into your body and it helps you retain the water you have. And it also gives you magnesium, calcium, a lot of the good things that your body needs, and it prevents cramping. However, if you've got an issue with salt, consult your physician. Okay, we've got this sauce cooking away. Now it's really important that you try and cut the zucchinis as uniformly as possible, thickness-wise. So I'm going to just throw those in. Yeah. Oh, look at that. So lovely. And the salt. Woohoo. Bit of pepper, lovely. That'll add this lovely earthy component to it. It came from the earth. I love it a lot. All of a sudden the green starts getting deeper and deeper into the flesh. That's when you know the heat's really getting into it. Now you don't want to overcook this, but we do want it a little bit browned, just because I'm looking for a certain type of caramelization of it. So that's what we're looking for. Just a little bit of caramelization, a little bit of burning. I don't want to overdo it because it is introducing carbon. Now I should say, this sauce you can actually serve up with veal medallions or venison medallions. I love working with venison. It's a wild meat that we harvest up here. Very sustainable. Cook it rare, put them aside, do the sauce, finish it in the sauce, and it'll be medium when it's ready to present. Beautiful with mashed potatoes and lovely beans, or even the zucchini and the Dutch carrots, as you're going to see. Okay, so what we've done, I've thrown the Dutch carrots on. Remember, we've blanched them, we've boiled them for a little bit. Now, it's important that you don't do it too long because they'll go soft. You do not want them soft. On these beautiful zucchinis, look at that. Now that is what I wanted. We're going to add a little bit of white pepper. Now what we want to do is caramelize them a little bit. Now at this point I'm going to add some zucchini flowers. I've never done this before, but I'm thinking why not. So I am going to plate this up. Woo, woo, they're hot. So what we've done, we've put this in, remember, at 165 degrees fan forced or 180 convection. Now to be quite honest, I don't think there's a massive difference in it. However, it's been in for roughly 10 minutes. It's still a little bit firm. It should be really soft to the touch. This needs to go back in, so we're going to put it back in and check it another 5 minutes. I am going to remove the trout. It's ready. We've been testing it with our advanced technology fork, and we're ready to go now. I was joking, by the way, you know that. Okay, oh, looking good, smelling amazing. That's beautiful. We're going to turn this off. We're now going to plate this. Come here. Look at that. So that's going to go on. Get this and just pour that on beautifully. Look at that. Lovely, lovely, lovely. So here we have the finished product. We have the beautiful wild trout, a wild brown trout from Warburton, and we've got the beautiful zucchinis from the garden. We've got the seasonal Dutch carrots, and we've got our lovely mushroom sauce. You can use this as a keto dish. Now, some people with keto would object to the carbs in the carrots. You can actually use that as on the maintenance keto when you're sort of already in ketosis, or you could substitute that for something else. Bon appetit. I'm going to taste this right now because I think it's beckoning. I'm actually really, really curious about these Dutch onions. Sorry, carrots. Oh my gosh, they're beautiful. They just have this buttery taste to them, and the lovely zucchini. They're just so sweet and succulent. And with the beautiful salt here, it's absolutely delicious. Now to the trout. Trout is very, very succulent, and you have to cut along the backbone here, cut right along it, and then what you do is you pull it off. Look at that. Oh my gosh, that is amazing. Beautiful white flesh. I'm just gonna have a taste of that, just to taste the flesh itself. That's really good. So if you'd like to see more of these videos, please click the subscribe button and give us some ideas as well. So if this resonates with you, please hit subscribe and like, and we look forward to seeing you again. Cheerio for now.